Good evening. How are you? Getting out late today because filing a lot of papers lately, and but it's nice out. It's in the 50s. Doesn't feel that cold. It's not raining, although it was a little wet earlier. And it's 7 o'clock. It's supposed to rain where I am, and right now it's about 6:20ish. So that is the end of our Thomas Jefferson weather report. How is the world? There are things happening that make sense and make the case that we're headed in the right direction. We're recovering, in my opinion. We do it step by step, and there's always a problem judging on a day's events what the trend line is. But there's several good things happening at the same time, and so I'd like to read into it good things before the weekend. One is, of course, the reports out of the Middle East that both hostages are being released and have been released, and that some supplies are going to find their way to the people in Gaza. And that would be terrific. Biden is rightly center stage in these efforts, and he intends to put aside the money in Congress, both for what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in Ukraine. That takes us to our second battlefield, which is the Congress. And the Democrats are acquitting themselves well. They're conducting themselves well. This is in sharp contrast to the Republicans, although there is a good thing happening, which is that some Republicans are breaking out and going on the record talking about what's wrong with the current Republican caucus. A number want to be in Congress to actually do something, to govern, not to just sit there and to have food fights like he who would be the speaker, No Jacket Jordan. So I think that's an important thing for the government. In terms of politics, a complete meltdown based on party among Republicans is not helpful to the governance of our nation, is not helpful to our foreign policy, is not helpful to us domestically, does not help us get the spending bills that are necessary to keep government open. So we have a real problem here. And how anyone thought, including the irresponsible wannabe speaker, No Jacket Jordan, is beyond me. And he thought to, run again to be the speaker, but he doesn't have the support. And every time he presents himself, he does less. And when he gets together with his conference, I think they've had it with him. They don't have the patience. But you should consider his profile. We talked about character yesterday. His profile has never been to be a man of service. It's a man of confrontation. It is a man who proudly took his position, saying that the election was stolen. So this is not a man we could have expected much from in terms of governing, pulling people together, making things happen. He exists to burn down the building, not to build it up. Now, some Republicans in the caucus, well, they've got the memo. They've had it before, and a number of them remain private because they don't want to have a primary, and they do want to be able to persist. But the office is an empty, jug. I think of nuns saying to us that empty vessels make the most noise. Well, maybe I heard that because I was making noise, I don't know. But when it comes to No Jacket Jordan, that's an empty vessel that makes a lot of noise, gets little done, is very destructive, and has no business being in Congress at all. That he could find a path to be a leader in the Republican caucus, the Republican conference, says a lot that's wrong with how the Republicans have taken on their leadership role. And as I've said before, if you don't stand for anything, there's no standard by which I can judge your accomplishment, your leadership ability. And that's true for all of us. So, what is the exit strategy? there really is only one exit strategy for the Congress to go forward. And to say it is to suggest maybe there is no strategy. It goes like this. They have tried all these alternatives. As long as there are a sufficient number of people in the Republican conference who are against any of the solutions, the Republicans cannot go forward on their own. They need Democrats. Now, if Democrats are working the membership of the Republican Party, and we have Democrats who, over the years, have personal and have been allied on different issues. So there is the possibility, and we've heard rumors about it, and it may be true. Okay, so what am I saying? Beating around the bush. What I'm saying is that the Democrats could form an alliance with the Republicans, and they could choose someone to head the Congress. If I were a Democrat, I'd be hard put to want to support a Republican as the Speaker. The obvious Speaker from the Democratic ranks is the current Minority Leader, Jeffries. So is that possible? It is possible and impossible at the same time. It is political suicide for whomever in the Republican Party in Congress would do that. So, but something has to happen, and happen soon. The President pro tem of the House, I think he made good sense when he said, I don't want to be in the position of being the unofficial standby speaker, because there are too many questions and issues that it seems to me may come out wrong when we get into the details of each of these issues. I think he's right. I don't really, if you have a provision for how a speaker becomes the speaker, how a person becomes the speaker, how can you then create some other way when as a body you have no power to act without a speaker? It's a catch-22. So that's a situation we have to watch. The final thing is that we had another breakthrough in Georgia today. And it goes like this. Chesbrough's trial was supposed to start today. He's a fella who has great gifts that he's misapplied to help Trump overturn the election. He's had communications with Eastman, who's the other lawyer who had his crazy theory about how to overthrow the election, and he's been aligned with Rudy Giuliani. So he's covered, some of the central themes and central information that's relevant to the prosecution in D.C. So he decided not to go to trial today, but to plead guilty. Now, if you remember, we had Sidney Powell, and she pleaded guilty to misdemeanors. Well, if you're the second one in to make a deal, the deal gets stiffer. And so the deal for this second plea bargain, Chesbrough, is that he's pleading guilty to a felony. So his exposure is greater, although apparently they tried to pick out factors that would minimize what his exposure would be. So that means that the trial that was going to take 4 months has just collapsed. And that Chesbrough now, at least as to the state case, has to testify truthfully about anything that he's asked about. I think we'll see other people reconsidering their position in the RICO prosecution because they see that the charges have gone from a misdemeanor to a felony. So I think more people will come forward now and will cooperate and plead guilty, or just plead guilty rather than go through what it means to go through a 4-month trial. The significance is that the nation moves with this case into a place where it's beginning to look like no man is above the law. Not when we can pick off these people who are in an indictment with the former president of the United States, Trump. You can be sure that things at Mar-a-Lago tonight are a little sad. I don't know how much McDonald's sandwiches can cheer up our former president. So, I think on the three visible planes that we've been concerned about, the Middle East, the Hill, and the prosecution of the renegades, the gang of Trump, now being reduced one by one, slowly, going toward a place in which we will yet make these people known to the country to be irrelevant, to be rogues, to be traitors, and to deserve every day they get in jail. Right now, the smart money is that the next trial will be the one run by Judge Chutkan in D.C. But I wonder if they couldn't mount the trial against Trump in Georgia, if they have the time to do that. You could make choices in the trial. I would be tempted, if I were the prosecutor, to say, bring Trump in here, we'll do him next, and we'll do the others later. Make him the focus of the Georgia trial, as he is the focus of the D.C. trial by Special Counsel Jack Smith. So, I'm losing the light here, but it feels good. I'm still limited to walking no more than a half hour. I'm not supposed to lift up more than 10 pounds. The last couple of days I've had a little bit of pain, but isn't that what surgery's about? Surgery is they knock you out, they beat you up for a good reason, and then you come to, and then you feel the beating that you got for a good reason, and then you repair yourself until you can take advantage of these improvements to remedy what ailed you. So I'm out here at night, and you can see the skies are, I don't know, they look prettier in film than they may look in person. So with any luck, I'll see you guys tomorrow and we'll talk some more. All the best. Bye-bye.